Well, for Wednesday Comics, I just have this collection of the Dr. Midnight miniseries that came out a long time ago now, and never got around to it. I always thought the cover looked cool, but you know, never judge a book by its cover, unfortunately, in this case. But nevertheless, Dr. Midnight, I always came back to him, and I'll get into the story I was first introduced to him with. But he was a mainstay for the Justice Society and that sort of thing. A blind superhero who can see. Yeah, like Daredevil. This Daredevil has a more interesting means by which, and actually Daredevil with his sonar is more Batman than Batman. But Dr. Midnight, the main deal was that he could see in the dark. He can't see in daylight and that sort of thing. He develops these special goggles where he could see. I mean, I guess he could judge objects and distance and whatnot with it and that sort of thing. But anyway, this version of Dr. Midnight, and I believe this is the only collection of a solo story of Dr. Midnight apart from the Justice Society. So I guess it was this and that's it. But this is actually, I believe, the third Dr. Midnight. There was, of course, the original McNighter. What are the odds your name is, yeah. And then after Crisis on Infinite Earths, they had Beth Chapel, who was the female Dr. Midnight, but that didn't last very long. And then suddenly they had this guy, Pieter, it's not Peter, Pieter Cross, who's basically the same character done again, just a different guy. So I was introduced in this series with Matt Wagner and John Snyder. There's the other covers. The covers aren't bad. They're kind of, you know, they're cool looking. Those are the villains. It's a vulture, a wolf, and a shark. The wolf looks more like a rat, but, you know, could have been appropriate. And there you go, the third. If you. So here's what the art interior looks like. Now, a lot of it is this exaggerated work, and in some instances, I don't mind it. It's not that bad. And these are, once again, the villains in their actual form and all that. But then it's like highly detailed and then quick little scribbles. The face is detailed. That's not bad. And, you know, it's... And some of these, I mean, that's a very good establishing shot of him and his cloak and everything. And it's not too bad of a page. It's a better minimal here, but it works okay. And actually, these are scans I got offline, but my actual copy of it, it looks way more muddier than this. So it's looks like they brightened it a bit, I guess. So you can see. So maybe that's what they should have done with the pages. And some of it works fairly well. You know, I mean, oh, well, he looks pissed. Hey, nice, his gal pal. This is, and actually, again, my copy, I don't detect red tones in the suit. I thought his was more purple, even though that's more akin to the original outfit of Dr. Midnight. This is a woman he rescues from herself and all that sort of stuff. There is no romance in it. I suppose if they had followed up with another series, they might have done it. His origin takes place in it. He's already a crusading doctor fighting for social justice and all that sort of thing. And the evil, nasty, corrupt corporate people are intending to poison and destroy the entire city and I guess redevelop it and make money that way. And all that sort of stuff. So it's the usual thing. But the artwork, had it been more, legible in a lot of scenes, especially action scenes, it might have worked out sort of okay. I don't think it was destined for any big success. And yeah, here you go, scribbles and yeah, it all looks nice and all that. And a lot of this, it's almost like the influence that Vertigo had on titles, even though this is not a Vertigo story of any sort. And then also the villains apparently are members of some sort of cult, and they sacrifice to their demon god or something, you know. I thought, oh, maybe the demon would actually appear. It doesn't happen, so I guess it's just some ritual they go through. Again, maybe a sequel would have explained it, but they lose and they go to prison, so it's just kind of more, realistic criminals in that part, except for this dressing up in these outfits. Although I've heard tell. Yeah. So, these pages do look a lot brighter than the ones in the book that I have. Because, this was much darker and muddier. Here he is after he's defeated the villains, and they're like, oh man, oh no, what do we do? And they're all pathetic and everything. But it's just unfortunate. This is akin to where, say, there's more purple in it than anything else, and black. And I took that to mean that was more of his suit, So, all in all, I was not all that thrilled with it. There's some elements that's okay. And of course, he's just, a low-rent Batman in a lot of ways. It's kind of similar things. But there's more of a pulp feel to it in that, which, of course, Batman derives from. But in here, you have a lot of elements like the Shadow and Doc Savage would have, where you've got this whole team out there that backs up Dr. Midnight's crusade, if you will. And he was doing it before he even had the accident that blinds him, and then he develops his I can see in the dark. What are the odds that the same thing would happen to him as it happened to the other guy? And an owl just decides, I'm going to be your bird now. So, yeah, okay. And but the Pulp Fiction idea of having a network of people, it's not just all this one man and all that sort of thing. So there's a lot of that. And then the girl comes into it. She becomes a member of the team as he treats her condition that's in the story and all of that. And there's one element in it I'll give to them when he gets captured and how he escapes and how it works for him. The fact that he's blind, he's learned. And of course, his skill from having been a surgeon also helps him in that he can articulate his hands and what he needs to do in order to pick the lock and that sort of thing, and able to do it without seeing it. There's some things in here that's pretty cool. But overall, the art was, it was difficult to take. And quite a bit of it, and these are just a few samples of the pages that actually work better than the ones that I have. And maybe it's just the printing was bad. I don't know, but it was much darker here. I think someone brightened this in Photoshop or something, but still. A lot of detail, and again, you would have an establishing shot, which is a means by which to do it when you're going to have a lot of panels or something like that. But it's almost like the other panels became afterthoughts, and quite a bit of it, the sequences are confusing. You don't know who's talking, you don't know what's what, and eventually through the narrative you can figure it out. But it's not that's a problem. That's not good. Because, it takes you out of the story, and that sort of when you're trying to, let me figure this out, that sort of thing. So it's unfortunate, and it's too bad for Dr. Midnight, but, that's what it is. Now, a long time ago, I became familiar with Dr. Midnight from DC Comics Presents. That was the Superman team-up title. Back in that bygone era that we now commonly refer to as the day. In this case, the early 80s. And there were always these backup stories in it, and they were always whatever happened to, this character, that one. And this one was the idea that this is like the final story for Dr. Midnight. No longer canon thanks to the crisis and everything, I guess, so it doesn't matter. But as you can see, you can pretty much tell what's going on. He's dealing with this burglar or what have you, and they're fighting, and then he'd use a blackout bomb to blind the guy and all that. And you know exactly what's going on. The one thing I'll give the other one is that it makes more sense that there's more black to the outfit instead of this bright red and green cape. And of course, his suit is similar to Robin's. And later on, like a Kingdom Come, and the adult Robin is depicted there. He looks more like Dr. Midnight than so. What are you gonna do? So here was the story, and it tells you: able to see in the dark, equipped with special infrared goggles to see in the light, and armed with blackout bombs to blind his foes, sightless Dr. Charles McNider battled crime alone and as a member of the famed Justice Society of America. Now, whatever happened to Dr. Midnight? Well, it seems his ability to see in the dark is starting to fail him. And even with his goggles, so he's really becoming blind now. Normally this punk would be no trouble for me, but despite my infrared goggles, my sight is fading, which means it's time to put us on equal footing. So he throws a blackout bomb, and so in the dark he can see fine. But even then, his sight starts to fail him, and he still can't see. It's far worse than I feared. I'm becoming totally blind, even in the dark. So this is the deal. It's some sort of condition, and it's never really resolved what the problem is. But he's able to defeat this guy by hearing him, and so he does, and all that. So now he's like, oh man, now what? Now I really am blind. How am I going to do it? Well, as it happens, a friend of his is working on some new lenses that can help people see, depending on what their particular blindness is. And he's trying them out on this patient. And the guy's like, wow, this is great. I can see. Well, he ends up killing the doctor to get the glasses so he can go rob this museum. I mean, you're blind, and your first thing is, hey, I want to rob this museum, but I need goggles so I can see. So again, Dr. Midnight tries to deal with this criminal, but his vision goes out. So now he's like, oh man, now I can't see, and this guy can. And so he's feeling around with him. Now the thing is, he doesn't see perfectly, but he can make out shapes. And so Dr. Midnight, I don't have all the pages here, but he does outfox him. Of course, they're in a room of statues. He puts his cape on one of them, and the guy hits the statue, breaking his hand. So the research his friend was doing apparently is lost, but he feels he can probably help develop with his goggle technology to help him. And so it ends on that he says, unfortunately, it'll only work for someone with my particular condition, able to see in the dark, which at the moment he can't. So, but it leaves it up in the air there. But I guess since with the title, it would suggest that this is why he retired from superheroics, because, well, he's really blind. So that was the deal for Dr. Midnight there. But since he showed up later and other stuff, I guess he figured something out. And then, of course, Crisis wiped out his version temporarily, of course. Beth Chappell took over, but not for very long. And this other guy came along, and don't know what became of him. Maybe he's still around. I don't know, to catch up with the Justice Society of America series, however long that's going to go. I guess it's going to get revamped again. But that's it for Dr. Midnight. But that was my introduction to the character. And that's that. I guess he just doesn't really get justice, no series of his own and all that. But again, it's like, well, he's, except for a few gimmicks, he's another Batman, So, yeah, I guess. Meanwhile, over at Comic-Con, yes, they do talk about comic books on occasion, instead of most of the time about movies and stuff. But a few more details about Absolute DC, or Absolute Comics, as it'll be called, came rolling out for some of the players. So some Jim Lee art was shown, and once again, Jim Lee's art, and this was true of the New 52, looks a lot better when he does it. Still not crazy about the hair, but yeah. And this thing, I'm assuming it means some other new powers he has that are different from the regular Superman. Don't know. But anyway, they managed to have Jim Lee actually do some work for DC. Here's Batman, which is even more of this, Conan the Barbarian look. I mean, does he actually carry a bat axe? But it's got more texture to it. And there is a cape of sorts on this one. So one was wondering if there's even a cape on the Absolute Batman. On the initial image, I thought it looked like he had some sort of maybe wings that he uses or whatever. And then his bat symbol is looking more batty in this, but also with this texture that it's some sort of, shield for his chest. Wonder Woman, the details about her is that she's a witch now. Still part of the Amazons, I believe, as she, instead of Paradise Island, she comes from Hades. And brought a pet with her, so this black skeleton horse is her steed, and she got tatted up in the underworld, and carries a 2x4 for it's just a really big sword. I don't know, and this is looking more like Wonder Woman meets Spawn type thing, and maybe it'll have something akin to that. I don't know, but I'm not liking any of these. They don't look great at all. Speaking of which, yeah, that doesn't look good. But again, I guess something about glowing wrists is what happens with whatever powers he has. And also his feet glow. And of course, I guess still... with his invulnerability, he can't cut his hair. Yeah. Fortunately, with X-ray vision, he can see through that crap. But God, that just looks terrible. Yeah. So nothing to look forward to there. This is the only image of Absolute Flash. This looks like a scene from his origin story, and he's just discovering his powers. Some weird shoes. It's almost like, of course, it's an alternate Earth, and I think it's where Darkseid conquered it, so they might have, different outfits and stuff, maybe more futuristic or alien looking. And some more art. There's a close-up. And, geez, that thing just gets bigger and bigger all the time. And there's, Batman. This image is probably just showing the figure. So maybe because in this image there is something there. That's why I thought it might be like a wing thing for him. And then there's, I don't know, his coattails in the back. He's wearing a tuxedo. So I think that's what that is, and how big he is. It's ridiculously so. And all that sort of stuff. So again, I think this looks stupid. Here he is without the mask. He's ginger now, apparently. He's not a rich guy or any of that. He's a city engineer. So there you go. And he works out and body builds, and I don't know, has a little puppy. And that's Bruce Wayne of Absolute Earth. But again, if the story is true that this is a world Darkseid invaded a long time ago, the situation in their lives are very different. Here's Alfred, who's a former spy. It says he was an old guard of Empire. Well, they mean British Empire? I mean, but it's an alternate Earth. Maybe it still continued, or are they referring that he had to serve in whatever legions of the Darkseid conquered world? Maybe it's something like that. And he's not happy with what he did in his youth, and ends up helping Batman, I guess, but not as a butler, because he can't afford a butler in this world. This is the Batman villain image, the only one they showed, a black mask. But, I mean, that just looks stupid. I don't know why it had to be just an actual ball. It almost looks kind of menacing and cool, or he's screaming with his skull face, but yeah, that was the promo of the whole thing. A sort of soft reboot for the rest of it, and you get a new Justice League title. Yeah, that's the old art. There we go. I thought I had the Green Lantern here. There's my drawing. Yeah. There's me drawing it. Yeah. Okay, let me get back to the opening one. I thought I had this, but I guess I don't. Yeah, Green Lantern. And I don't know if this is supposed to be, what was her name? The Joe something character, so I don't know. But is she the only Green Lantern they have or whatever? There's a lot of, and then she just glows, and she doesn't have a costume or anything. It just glows green around her in her normal clothes, I guess, with the ring or whatever. The thing about the Green Lantern Corps, it became, because it's a corps and you can have lots of different members and all that sort of thing. But that's enough human members already. There's all these aliens out there, and you could do that, but they don't, because that doesn't help the narrative of the message, and so that's why. So, or maybe she's a totally new character, but anyway, this looks like crap. Story-wise, I don't know, maybe one or two will have something interesting in it. Dubious. And it talks about, an ongoing arc over the next 3 or 4 years. I don't think it lasts that long. So much for that idea. Anyway, there you go. I think we're caught up on that for the time being. And see what else I can read for next time on Mr. Nailsin's Wednesday Comics.